Most people learn that the Roman Empire fell in 476 AD. That is not quite true. The western half fell in 476. The eastern half, richer, more sophisticated, and far more strategically positioned, kept going for another 1,000 years. While Western Europe descended into the Dark Ages, Constantinople remained the largest, wealthiest, most educated city on the continent. The Eastern Roman Empire, what we now call the Byzantine Empire, preserved Roman law, Greek philosophy, and Christian theology through centuries that the West had largely forgotten they existed. On the 29th of May, 1453, it ended in a single day. After a 53-day siege led by a 21-year-old sultan armed with the largest cannon the world had ever seen. This is the story of the last day of the Roman Empire, and why it changed the world far more than its first fall ever did. Constantinople sat on a narrow peninsula where Europe met Asia, controlling the only sea route between the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. Whoever held it held the fulcrum of the known world. Its defenses were extraordinary. The Theodosian walls, built in the 5th century, were a triple line of fortifications stretching 4 miles across the landward approach. An outer moat, a low outer wall, a higher inner wall nearly 40 feet tall with towers every 60 yards. In over 1,000 years, those walls had never been breached from the land side. By 1453, the empire behind them had shrunk to almost nothing. What had once stretched from Spain to Mesopotamia was now just the city itself, a few Aegean islands, and a small territory in Greece. The population had collapsed from 500,000 to perhaps 50,000. The empire was, by any rational measure, already dead. Only the walls and the name remained. Sultan Mehmed II was 21 years old when he began the siege of Constantinople. He had been obsessed with the city since childhood, studying its defenses, reading accounts of every previous failed siege, and asking the question no one before him had properly answered. What would it take to actually break those walls? His answer was a Hungarian engineer named Urban who came to him with a proposal. He could build a cannon unlike anything that had existed before, large enough to fire a stone ball weighing over half a ton. Mehmed gave him whatever he needed. The cannon, known to history as the Great Bombard or the Dardanelles gun, was nearly 27 feet long. It took 60 oxen and 200 men to transport it from its casting site to Constantinople. It could only be fired 7 times a day. The recoil required hours of cooling before the next shot, but each shot hit the Theodosian walls with a force nothing in the medieval world had been designed to withstand. The siege began on April 6, 1453. For 7 weeks, the pattern held. Ottoman assault, Byzantine defense, repairs by night, assault again at dawn. The defenders were outnumbered 15-1, but fought with desperate effectiveness. The walls, even damaged, were still formidable. The Ottomans launched multiple all-out assaults and were repelled each time. Mehmed tried naval attacks through the Bosphorus. A chain boom across the Golden Horn Inlet blocked him. He responded by dragging 70 ships overland on greased logs, around the chain, and into the Golden Horn overnight. His engineers did this in a single night. Constantinople woke to find an Ottoman fleet in its harbor. Still, the city held. The Venetian and Genoese ships inside fought back. Constantine walked the walls himself, directing the defense. The city prayed. Priests carried icons through the streets. Prophecies circulated. Constantinople could not fall while God protected it. The final assault began at midnight. Mehmed sent wave after wave at the walls. Irregular troops first to exhaust the defenders, then his elite Janissary infantry. The fighting lasted through the night. In the pre-dawn darkness, a small gate near the Blacherne Palace, the Kirkoporta, was found unlocked. Ottoman soldiers poured through. Word spread along the walls. walls. The city had been breached. The defense collapsed. Constantine XI tore off his imperial regalia so he would not be taken alive and charged into the Ottoman soldiers. He was never seen again. His body was identified later only by the golden eagles on his boots. Mehmed II entered Constantinople that afternoon on horseback. He rode directly to the Hagia Sophia, dismounted, and knelt to pray. He ordered that the building be converted to a mosque immediately. He was 21 years old. He had just ended an empire that had lasted 15 centuries. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves across Europe. The overland trade route to Asia, already partially disrupted, was now firmly in Ottoman hands. European powers could no longer rely on it. Within 40 years, Portugal had found a sea route around Africa to India. Spain had funded Columbus's voyage west. The age of exploration, which reshaped the entire globe, was accelerated directly by the closing of the eastern land route. Something else happened too. Byzantine scholars, sensing the end for years, had been leaving Constantinople and settling in Italy, bringing with them manuscripts of ancient Greek texts that Western Europe had forgotten existed. Plato, Aristotle, Archimedes, in their original form. The influx of Greek scholarship into Italy is now considered one of the key catalysts of the Renaissance. Constantine XI has no confirmed tomb. His body was never formally recovered. In Greek folk tradition, he did not die that day. The story goes that an angel carried him away at the last moment and turned him to marble, sleeping beneath the Golden Gate of Constantinople, waiting for the day the city returns to its rightful heirs. They call him the Marble King. It is, of course, a legend, but it tells you something true. That the fall of Constantinople was not just a military defeat, it was the end of an idea. That Rome, in some form, was still watching over the world. That continuity with the ancient past was still possible. On May 29th, 1453, that idea ended. A 21-year-old with a cannon did what 1,000 years of invasions could not, and the world that came after was entirely new.